Hello, everyone. This is Mikel from filmfestivalcircuit.com and the Oregon Short Film Festival. We just got done with our Winter 2026 event, which was incredible with a great turnout. And we are now talking with some of our participating filmmakers who screened at Oregon Short Film Festival Winter 2026. Today, we're talking with Scott Park, who is the writer and director behind Cutter. Scott, thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Cutter it's a crazy movie, man. It's so stylish, so extremely unique in its concept, and so imaginative, well acted. Really a great full package. So tell me, what inspired this film?
So I like the idea of, my favorite filmmakers make snow globes. People like Wes Anderson or Tim Burton or
Okay.
Tarantino. I love it when if you're flipping around on the TV and you come across a film of theirs that you haven't seen, but you know right away who it is. I love that. And for myself, I like the idea of creating or exploring a space where it's familiar enough that the audience feels grounded, doesn't feel lost. They have some kind of anchor, but it's different enough that they know it's not our world. And then I can get away with bits of sci-fi or surrealism or other weirdness and not have to explain it. It's really, I'm really not a fan of exposition. So creating this stylized reality, I can get away with doing stuff and not explaining it.
Interesting. Well, really well put. And I mean, that comes out so strongly through like the costuming in the film, where you realize that it's not quite our reality, but there are certain conventions. There's a sort of a policeman, and
Right.
the dynamic is recognizable at a glance. Tell me a little bit about the snow globe. It's just what a self-contained world.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I like the idea of storybooks for grown-ups.
Okay.
This heightened reality or an alternative timeline idea that doesn't exist anywhere apart from the here. So it's this contained scope, but it's you think about snow globes, they have a very specific feel to them and look, and they capture a moment. So I like
Totally.
the idea of that.
Well, and so you're mentioning sort of, okay, flipping around on TV, you see something like a Wes Anderson movie, you instantly recognize it's him, but also just at a glance, not knowing what's going on in the plot, you're going to get hooked into that. It looks
Right.
interesting. Your eye is now taken. So I got that sense with your work. There's something really
Okay.
distinct about the style and the look. It's something where you'd be flipping around and you say, "Oh wait, what is this?" But I
Right.
also felt that it's unique. It didn't feel like it was aping anything. I didn't feel like it was reminiscent of any other director. So tell me about developing that aesthetic and that style.
So I can't. I don't remember anything beyond. So what I remember is the idea of creating something different, and sort of combining sort of an anachronistic approach to the style. So the idea was that maybe it takes place in the 30s, but it's not our 30s. The feature script has vehicles in it, which I picture as from
Okay.
the 50s. There's like the bus in Shape of Water is
Okay.
very 1950s
Totally.
styled. And then, the weird dialogue sets it apart. The dialogue doesn't quite fit from any time period. It's a
Right.
combination of stuff. And then there's the diesel punk props that are in there so that's, even if it feels like the 1930s, it's clearly not the 1930s. They didn't
Right.
have those little scanners and stuff in there. And so using all of that to help shape that this is not our reality.
Totally. Well, yeah, and I love the set design, like you said, the diesel punk aesthetic where,
Right.
they have sort of complex technology or more complex technology than would be the case, but you have to sort of pull a cord and rig a machine. And it's so cool because it makes it so physical and it's a little bit
Yeah.
more, I mean, seeing people use smartphones in movies and TV is not particularly interesting.
Right. Right.
Well, tell me a little bit about the casting. I really love the lead, and she's so intense and so physical.
Hmm.
And I don't know, has a very unique character about her. What was it like casting that and also just directing?
The casting was interesting in that the three characters were cast in very different ways. So Ryan, the lead, was a traditional. We made this in Denver. It's when I was still living there,
Okay.
and we kind of went with took a look at the books of all of the local agencies and made a list, asked for tapes, went through the whole process, had a callback, an in-person callback. And it just so happened that Ryan was in the top. I think we went from 20 down to 5 for the callback, 5 or 6. And Ryan, we just really liked her. And I had worked with her before. I shot a Bigfoot horror film like 8 years ago, and she had a part in that. And I remember watching her even then. She was just captivating. Her appearance was just, I mean, just drew you. And
Totally.
and her what she did in the callback and on the tape was so I don't know that anybody else. I mean, she just ripped through that crazy dialogue. I mean, it's weird, and
Yeah.
and it doesn't sound weird from her at all. And it was really important to sell that. It wasn't going to work unless all 3
Right.
leads really jumped on board with this weird ass dialogue. So that was a more traditional process, and it turned out that I'd worked with her anyway. So it was an easy decision. Really happy with what she
Totally.
did. Myles, who was the police officer, we had a hard time with him, and we ended up widening the net further and further until we got to where he's from Texas. And so we
Okay.
brought him in from there. And he just had this great, like, there's a peace and a calm about him. You can tell that he's
Mhm.
seen a lot, but he's very just, he doesn't easily rattle. So when
Right.
when it's clear, when he is rattled, it really means something, has an impact. So that was great work with him as well, seasoned actor. And Brian Landis Folkins is the psycho convict.
Mhm.
And I've known him a long time. He's a good friend. He was in that same Bigfoot horror film, actually. And I love working with him. He's one of those where we can be talking about whatever between takes. And when we call action, he's in it. He's
He snaps
completely in
back in.
this. Yeah. And in this absolutely unhinged character, and the stuff that he's spewing to this woman
Totally.
who's, it was great. It was a lot of fun. And it was the directing was different too for each of them. Brian is much, BLF is much more, is very casual. We figured it out. We had a day of rehearsals and then 3 days of shooting.
Okay.
So we worked out, since I was directing as well as shooting, I needed to, any of the directing, any motivation stuff or questions about the character dialogue needed to be worked out beforehand.
Right.
So we did that. And Ryan was more intense in that she really liked to be kind of on her own between takes. She wasn't method, but I think that helped her stay at whatever
Okay.
emotional level
Totally.
we were going for. And Myles was very, just very agreeable. And he would bring up ideas, about ideas about his character or the situation, the space, and
Right.
he was just so charming and great to work with. Yeah, it was a very good experience.
Well, that's excellent to hear. I love how each person's casting was a little different. Each directing style is different. This is cool. This is kind of the in the weeds stuff that I love to hear because it shows
Mm,
that actually the art of directing, it's nuanced. You got to approach everyone with different actors have different styles.
yeah, for sure.
And playing the psycho convict role was fun as hell because I
Oh
saw him
yeah.
just looking mean and tough and screaming there, and I just thought, yeah, that's awesome. Really let it out.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is like we didn't want him. I love the characters that are most terrifying to me in stories are the ones that don't yell. The ones who are
Right.
that quiet, just malice. They just
Right.
ooze evil. So
Totally.
he brought that.
Yeah, I love that. Um, Tell me about. I mean, we kind of talked about making this weird, distinct world, but tell me a little bit about the specific mechanism, the magic that the cutter has access
Oh,
to, and how you
right.
develop that. I mean, it reminds me of kind of the grittier Dark Horse comics and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I'm saying? Or like just this because it's an interesting codified kind of system that you have in there, and it's easy
Right.
to, like we said, at a glance pick up on it. But it's so
It's
it's
bizarre. It's very specific, but very weird. I like the idea. So my favorite, superhero movies are the ones where either they don't want to be a superhero or the power isn't that great or it comes
Okay.
at a cost. So like Unbreakable is
Right.
probably my favorite because you
Totally.
have this reluctant hero. But I like the idea of a superpower or the opportunity that isn't that impressive, but or costly. So in her
Right.
case, she's obsessed with being remembered, and she wants to use this opportunity to help her friend. But it comes at quite a cost. I mean, she's really
Right.
tearing herself up. And I like the idea. I like the idea that it is clear to the audience that it hurts her. It's not healthy, and it's very obvious. Blood reads really well on screen. So
Right.
right away, like she's doing some terrible things to herself, and is it really worth it? That's kind of the question, and it's explained more in the feature. She actually discovers it. She's already been
Right.
doing it for a
Jumped right
bit.
into it.
Yeah. So yeah, she stumbles across the idea that she cuts herself with these scissors and then cuts a piece of clothing, and that person appears in the closet, which is you know kind of a ridiculous power. Like how useful is that? Like it's not like
Right.
you can go somewhere else or anything like
Exactly.
that. Like you're just bringing someone to you.
Right.
But she uses it. She figures out how to do something kind of interesting with it.
Totally. Well, I like that sort of thematically, it's the physical manifestation of a taxing obsession. And you
Yeah.
kind of, I mean, you're exploring that angle in a weird way. And she thinks she's helping, but it's hard to say what really comes out of this.
Yeah.
Um, Talk to me a little bit about, if you can, writing the feature versus pulling out what you want for the proof of concept. Because you said in the feature, of course, you're explaining stuff. Proof of concept, this is a direct punch in to, what you can find is the most interesting thing to set
Right.
it all up in a quick amount of time, and it's done really well. Piqued my interest.
Oh, good. Good.
Tell me about pulling that out when you're trying to decide on a
Sure.
short.
Yeah. So I feel like the pacing of the feature is what I want.
Okay.
There's some breathing to it. There's a because I like the slower paced, more thoughtful types of approaches to movies. I love like the Solaris remake, which is for a lot of people really slow,
Right.
terribly slow pacing, but I think it's amazing.
Totally.
Um, so I feel like that's closer. The feature's closer to kind of the pacing I want. But you can't do that for a short. You got to
Right.
get in. You got to show people what you're doing, and you got to get out. Um, if I had to do it again, I would do it differently because the way I did it was 13 minutes, which is pushing what I wanted. I was hoping
Okay.
for at least under 12, but looking back, I mean, I could have saved a lot of money if I could have shot it in a day or two, if it was a
Right.
6 or 8 minute piece instead. And so it's tough trying to figure out what to include and how much to throw at the audience in such a short amount of time.
Right.
Trying to find that balance between I want to fully show what I want to do with the feature, but at the same time, I don't want to throw everything at the
Right.
audience. So it was
Totally.
tough. It was tough trying to figure out how to encapsulate that 100-page script into 12 or 13.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think the balance that you have of just jumping into interesting action, but then also you show a little bit of the backstory. I think that's important for a proof of concept to show that the final movie is going to have that depth as well, or the
Right.
feature length.
Right.
And so, it'd probably be cheaper and easier to do a 6 minute, just the cutter doing her thing. But I think having a little bit of that variability is super important.
Yeah.
Um, well, so it sounds like you've worked with some of these people before. You've worked on productions before. What did you learn from this process specifically?
The biggest, so yeah, I should say, I didn't mention specifically yet, the production designer, Brandon Fryman, really nailed it. And he brought stuff that I didn't even think
Oh yeah.
about. Texture wise, it's not something that, even as the DP, I really think a lot about. But when you look at something like the clothing, the cloth that she wears, it's so you feel it.
Yeah,
You can feel
absolutely.
that almost burlap. And same with our seamstress was just nailed this. She was focused mostly. Kendra Stone was focused on Ryan's outfits,
Okay.
and she came up with the gloves that have the magnet on them, so she can stick the
Yeah,
wrench to, and the apron that's a
I
odd
love that.
apron. Yeah, so that was very cool. The biggest surprise. So I'm a cinematographer, and I have lately been kind of exploring the idea of subversive cinematography. So breaking
Okay.
the rules to greater effect than following them. Um, And rather than trying to wait on a project that really supports that, I thought, well, I wrote in film school. I can write and direct something.
Totally.
And the biggest surprise was how much I enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be create this vehicle to show off some cinematography,
Right.
and then get back to shooting. And I found that I love this. I want to do more writing, directing. I'm writing other scripts now, and I've got other ideas to explore in this world. So
Excellent.
that was the biggest surprise.
Oh, I love that. So you were trying to create basically a cinematographic exercise, and you wanted to make the scenario that would allow that, and you found that actually you have this crazy imagination. You want to explore that. I mean, that's awesome. And then the writer, director, cinematographer, the camera eye, that's the full indie package. And
Right.
that's exciting to hear that you have more projects. So obviously you have the feature. I want to hear what the plans are for that, but also tell me about other stuff you're working on.
So right now it's as Cutter goes through its festival run, we're trying to find producers, investors, someone who can, who gets on board, really wants to turn this and see this as a feature. So we're still looking for money for that. I have a couple of scripts that I'm working on, and so that's kind of where I am now for.
Cool. Are you working on more shorts? Or are you already thinking other features that you're working on?
Features. So a buddy of mine did a really brilliant thing a few years ago. He looked at what his resources were around him. He wrote something specifically to that, and he made a feature for like 60 grand. And it occurred to me, rather than waiting for money, this is, I mean, Cutter is realistically $1 million or $2 million to do it right, I think. And if we go to like a proper indie, it's probably more like $5 million. But rather than wait for that money to come along, I like the idea of, well, let me write something that leverages what I have around me, and I can.
We're talking specific grants and stuff like that, and
grants, and just leverage people who locations. Find somebody who would let me shoot there for free or for very cheap. That kind of idea. Yeah.
Well, I love that idea, and I've talked to a lot of people recently who made long form work that utilized stuff like that to the point where, wow, I never would have guessed that you didn't have to scout and pay to play in this location. People have access to certain houses, or maybe business owners have back rooms and this and that you can totally turn into multiple scenes. And I've just been really impressed by how resourceful people have been recently.
I shot a movie called Rent-A-Pal for John Stevenson, and he did exactly that. He was living in a house. The house next to him had just become empty, but it was still full of furniture. And so he talked to the owner and said, "Hey, do you care if I shoot something here?" And he wrote something that worked because it was dressed in this great 90s feel. So
totally.
He wrote and directed Rent-A-Pal, and I shot it for him. So that's kind of idea.
I love that. I love that kind of stuff, man.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, tell me, is there anything you'd like to add about Cutter?
No, it's been a great ride. It's been a lot of fun. I'm excited that people are connecting with it. It's tough to know something so strange and specific, whether that's going to resonate, and if people are just going to look at it and scratch their heads, or if they're going to find some way to connect to it. So it's good to hear when it does. Totally.
Well, I think the concept is so unique and daring, but the execution is what puts it all together. And I think we'll get people behind it no matter what, even if they're not into blood and steampunk or whatever. I think there's just a fully recognized thing here that I totally loved. And I'm very excited to hear more about the feature and just see more from you, man. So thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
I'll keep my eye out for Scott Park in the years and months to come. So thank you, man.
All right. Thank you. You too.